It's not a secret that the entertainment world lives by two identities, one for the real, R-E-E-L, and one for the real, R-E-A-L. The Addams family's real version of the home was this large Victorian mansion, which was located in Los Angeles, and the real address of which was 21 Chester Place. Chester Place found a mention in Don Sloper's book titled Images of America. Just like Chester Place represented the images of America, so did the Addams family, who have entertained Americans for generations and continue to do so today. I'd call the Addams Family Mansion another character in the story that stood for family values despite being center stage for some seriously morbid activities. Here's a detailed look at the Addams Family Mansion, a non-living character. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Right next to a cemetery?
Yes, we have a lovely view of it.
What is the official address of the Addams Family Mansion? In the TV series, the house was given the address 0001 Cemetery Lane because the house was adjacent to a cemetery. The address depicted the macabre tastes of the family. It was natural for them to have an address with such a morbid name. No one in their right frame of mind would buy a place that had this kind of address. In my opinion, the word Cemetery Lane still is tolerable, but imagine having an address that reads 0001 Graveyard Lane. That would have personified the weirdness of the family more. In the original 1964 to 1966 TV series, Gomez and guests addressed their return letters to that address, and it's repeatedly shown in the opening credits. A dark iron gate reads, "Beware of thing." I guess that the words "beware of" were addressed since the crawling thing was nothing short of a creepy thing. This was also the address used in merchandising, theme songs, official licensed materials, and is widely accepted by producers and fans alike as canonical for the TV version. Back in the day, The Munsters was another spooky family show that aired around the same time as The Addams Family. It featured all the classic Universal monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula living together as one weird little sitcom family. Their address was 1313 Mockingbird Lane, which really played up the creepy factor. So of course, the Addams Family had their own eerie address too, 0001 Cemetery Lane. It added to the haunted vibe and made it feel like something chilling was always lurking nearby. Was the Addams Family Mansion a real house? Yes and no. The Addams Family Mansion, bearing the address 0001 Cemetery Lane, was an address given to the show. Still, the real address of the mansion was located at 21 Chester Place in Santa Paula, California. If you were to sign up for a Hollywood tour to look at the same mansion, you wouldn't find it since it was demolished in the days following the show's end, and a different-looking mansion stands there today. 21 Chester Place was located in Los Angeles on Addams with one D, not Adams with two Ds, Boulevard in the West Adams district, which was built in 1867. 21 Chester Place exuded the charm of a classic Victorian-era mansion, and therefore was chosen to serve as the Addams Family Mansion in the show. 21 Chester Place bore not many similarities to the Addams Mansion, but its relevance to the Victorian era is what mattered. For instance, as per the original comic strip, the Addams Family Mansion had 3 floors. Since it was drawn in loose ink, it wasn't perfectly symmetrical and gave a sort of dilapidated look, with one part of the roof visibly sagging more than the other, a window frame slanting, or a chimney poking out at an awkward angle. Decorative elements like gargoyles, twisted finials, stacked brick chimneys, and roof balustrades are often exaggerated. Trees and shrubbery grow unchecked, with branches curling ominously, contributing to the notion that the house is slowly reclaiming itself from nature. The mansion in the comic strip was never strictly realistic, retaining the fact that it's a comic strip, but the mood of whimsical creepiness was focused rather than architectural accuracy. In the live-action TV series, 21 Chester Place looked somewhat close to the Addams Family Mansion, but the iconic 3rd floor was missing, so the producers, during the pilot shoot, hired an artist, Louis McManus, who was asked to paint the Addams Family Mansion that included the mansion's memorable 3rd floor, mansard roof, tower, tower, and Gothic details, which was then painted onto a photographic matte overlay. The photograph of the mansion was first blown up to a large size onto which Lewis painted the original mansion of the Addams Family, even drawing the trees and shrubs, which were then used in the live-action show, featured at the beginning of the show and during transitions. However, to capture shots of night and day, even stormy weather, Lewis hired the services of the Howard Anderson Company, a special effects company for film and television in Hollywood, to use special effects on the exterior facade, making it look as real as possible. On June 9, 1967, the Department of Building and Safety issued a demolition permit for the house, notifying the Grafe family to vacate within a specified period, typically 30 days from the notification date. However, this could be extended in some cases. 11 days later, a permit to construct a parking lot on the site was filed. By October 16, 1967, 4 months after the demolition permit, the certificate of occupancy for the new parking lot was granted, indicating that the facility was ready for use. Therefore, the house was demolished between June 9 and October 16, 1967. After the pilot episode, exterior footage of the original house was used only once before being largely replaced by a matte painting. Any remaining live exterior scenes, such as those featuring the porch, front gates, and lawn, were filmed on studio-built mini-sets rather than at the actual location. All interior rooms, like the grand foyer, drawing room, Morticia's greenhouse, torture chamber, etc., were constructed on sound stages at General Service, later Hollywood Center Studios in Hollywood, where the show was produced. What style is the Addams Family Mansion designed in? The Addams Family Mansion is designed as a fictional 19th century Victorian-era mansion, specifically modeled in the French Second Empire style, with a heavy ornamented, spooky twist. It blends Gothic Revival, Queen Anne, and other Victorian-era elements into one iconic and eerie expression of haunted house architecture. In the 1964 to 1966 TV series, The Addams Mansion at 0001 Cemetery Lane is described in production and press materials as an ornate, gloomy Second Empire-style mansion. Characteristics of Second Empire architecture visible in the Addams Family fictional mansion: a steep mansard roof, often with a central tower or cupola, dormer windows, tall narrow windows, roof cresting, decorative ironwork, brackets, ornate ornamentation, asymmetrical massing, bay projections, and vertical emphasis. While rooted in the Second Empire, the Addams Mansion layered on additional stylistic flourishes that are seen in the Gothic touches, such as twisted finials, pointed arches, gargoyle-like ornaments, flourishes of ivy, and creaky iron gates, delivering a haunted, atmospheric presence. The varied roof lines, turrets, bay windows, and sash windows nod to other late Victorian forms, adding visual drama and eccentricity, which qualify as Queen Anne and Edwardian echoes. This eclectic overlay creates what many designers describe as dilapidated elegance, an intentional decay that still preserves stately grandeur, especially in the 1991 to 93 films. Charles Addams' New Yorker cartoons often showed the house in a more dilapidated form due to their loose ink and sketchy illustrations.
Hawaii is wonderful. I wish you were here, and I can...
1991 and 1993 films, The Addams Family and Addams Family Values. These films were directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. It was when Charles Addams' second wife sold the rights to the Sonnenfeld films. There was no real mansion used in the movie to maintain creative control. An entire set was erected on a soundstage, keeping the basic look of the mansion from the cartoon strips. In the films, the exterior maintained the towering Gothic mansion with looming gables and twisted architecture. The interior was lavish, dusty, and filled with dark wood, bizarre contraptions, secret passages, and oddities. The vibe was opulent, eerie, and darkly whimsical, perhaps the most iconic depiction of the house. The New Addams Family, 1998 from Fox Family, was the remake of the 1960s series with updated effects. The mansion was a set and was reminiscent of the 60s version, but with color and a slightly modern touch. The interior, still dark and old-fashioned, but with less intricate design than the films, 2019 and 2021 animated films. The films were stylized using 3D animation. The exterior, perched on a hill or cliff, the mansion looked more like a haunted asylum or castle than a house. The interior was comically spooky, exaggerated for visual gags. The vibe was cartoonishly grim, playful, and geared toward younger audiences. What rooms are prominently featured inside the mansion? There were various rooms in the mansion, including the living room, conservatory, study, dining room, Gomez's office, playroom or torture chamber, children's bedrooms, guest room, kitchen, and hidden spaces like tunnels, dungeons, and swamps. There are somewhere between 25 and 30 rooms in the Addams Family Mansion. Other rooms are not always displayed or featured. Living room. It's the most iconic room, central to scenes in every adaptation. The living room boasts of Gothic Victorian furniture, candelabras, cobwebs, and taxidermy that are sometimes sentient. There's a bear rug mounted Bruno, which seems alive even after being a hunting trophy. The living room is the thing's hangout, the disembodied hand, and often pops out from a box or side table. Morticia's harpsichord is also there. Sometimes Gomez plays the violin. The living room is largely used for hosting guests, family gatherings, indoor swordplay, or for normal visitors' horror. Conservatory. The conservatory is the Addams family's matriarch Morticia's favorite room, which is filled with deadly plants. It houses Cleopatra. That's Morticia's meat-eating African strangler, a man-eating plant. It also houses other exotic or venomous plants. The decor is overgrown, foggy, and humid, almost like a small jungle or greenhouse. It has a Gothic wrought iron framework. Morticia mostly prunes rose stems and throws away the flowers. The dining room. The dining room is elegant yet eerie, with a long table for hosting bizarre meals. The decor includes a grand chandelier mounted with animal heads, sometimes mythical. The place radiates a gloomy vibe with lit candles. The family usually dines on eye of newt, bat wings, or crispy centipedes. Just by seeing them, guests often lose their appetite. Lurch's butler sometimes serves meals with exaggerated formality. It's almost fake. The kitchen. It's dark and Victorian, with medieval cooking tools. The kitchen is stocked with eye of newt, live crabs, bats, frogs, and insects. Morticia and Grandmama cook potions and dinner side by side. The appliances could be either steam-powered or cursed. You just never know. Children's bedrooms. Wednesday's room has a Gothic dollhouse, dead flowers, headless dolls, and black curtains. It often contains hidden weapons or experiments. Pugsley's room is more chaotic. Explosives, strange machines, animal bones. He sometimes sleeps in an Iron Maiden or bed of nails. The playroom, also known as the torture room, housed Grandmama's stockade, the Iron Maiden, the bed of nails, the rack, and other such items that were meant for fun and torture. Once, the family butler Lurch brought Mr. Harris there, so he lay down on the bed of nails. No wonder Gomez called it the guest room. Since it was becoming a difficult situation to share the place, Morticia got twin beds of nails installed, and when Sam Picasso came to stay with them, she turned the room into an art studio. Again, the name of the room changed to the code room when Pugsley set up his shortwave radio in it. This was also the room where Gomez and Pugsley built Wizzo. They, along with Uncle Fester, built the robot Smiley in the same room. Gomez and Fester repeatedly broke the plumbing while reenacting battles of Admiral John Paul Adams there. Fester used the space for conjuring and photography, and it sometimes served as a treatment room for Lurch. Gomez dueled Dr. Shallon with rapiers from the wall, and the family held a Halloween seance there. Gomez also hid stolen goods in the room during his famous sleepwalks. When Morticia and Gomez first met, it appeared to be merely a storage room. The main bedroom, Gomez and Morticia's bedroom. Their bedroom was a Gothic romantic sanctuary that had dark, rich colors such as blacks, deep purples, blood reds, and velvety textures. Their canopy bed, or grand four-poster bed with heavy curtains, was often draped in black lace or velvet. Their walls seemed to be lined with Victorian wallpaper that was covered in spooky art, weapon displays, or family portraits. The room exuded the strong intimacy the couple shared. For instance, the main bedroom shown in the films was a romantic, candlelit lair that included silk sheets, velvet drapery, and Gothic architecture with wooden doors or secret compartments. They were often shown lounging together, deeply affectionate, sometimes fencing or passionately whispering in French. Uncle Fester's bedroom. Uncle Fester slept on a bed of nails and kept identical coats in his closet. His room featured portraits of General Ulysses S. Adams, Grandmama Gomez practicing Zen yoga, and Diana the bearded lady. He had a chemistry lab for brewing hair restorer. At one point, he also moved the Flugelsmith painting from the library to his room while the vet treated Cousin It and Cleopatra. The study is one of the more distinctive and atmospheric spaces in their eerie Gothic home. While the specific design and contents can vary slightly depending on the adaptation, be it the original 1960s TV series, the 1990s films, the animated versions, or more recent adaptations like Wednesday on Netflix, the study always reflects the family's macabre tastes and eccentric intellect. The room has a Gothic ambience and typically features dark wood paneling, heavy velvet drapes, wrought iron chandeliers, and dim, moody lighting, usually by candlelight or antique lamps. The air feels heavy with mystery and age. The room is not pristinely kept, with layers of dust, scattered cobwebs, and aged furniture, which adds to the haunted house aesthetic. The design often incorporates old-world elegance mixed with creepy, antique oddities. Lining the walls are towering bookshelves packed with leather-bound books, many of which are probably arcane texts, obscure historical volumes, and books on the occult. Titles might include fictional grimoires or tomes like How to Raise the Dead for Beginners or Advanced Torture Techniques of the 14th Century. The centerpiece of the room is usually Gomez's elaborate desk, a carved monstrosity of a thing possibly containing hidden compartments. On the desk, one might find fencing foils, cigars, a magnifying glass, or a vintage typewriter. The room often includes a model train set used not for play, but for controlled demolition, which Gomez gleefully enjoys destroying with dynamite. The room doubles as a kind of museum for the strange and macabre. Shrunken heads, taxidermy, sometimes alive, ancient weaponry, and cursed artifacts. There may be skulls, crystal balls, and unusual items like a hand of glory or a jar labeled Essence of Banshee. As with many rooms in the mansion, the study may hide secret doors or trap doors leading to other parts of the house, like the dungeon or torture chamber. The walls are adorned with oil portraits of grim-faced Addams ancestors, sometimes with eyes that follow you or move. Tunnels and dungeons. The tunnels and dungeons beneath the Addams Family Mansion are among the most mysterious, spooky, and entertaining features of their already bizarre home. These subterranean spaces reflect the family's Gothic sensibilities, their fascination with the macabre, and their deep-rooted family history, literally and figuratively. While details can vary between adaptations, TV series, films, cartoons, and Wednesday on Netflix, the essence remains the same. These underground areas are vast, labyrinthine, and full of oddities that only the Addamses would consider perfectly normal. The tunnels are often portrayed as secret passageways, maze-like corridors, or catacombs that run beneath the mansion and sometimes extend beyond it. Some lead to other rooms of the house, while others open into forgotten chambers, crypts, underground lakes, or even cemeteries on the estate grounds. They're typically accessed via rotating bookcases, trap doors, especially in the study or the library, pulling levers disguised as candelabras or skulls, sliding down a chute hidden in the fireplace, or organ. The tunnels are dimly lit, often by torches or old gas lamps. Like most tunnels, it's filled with echoes and eerie sounds, such as dripping water, as well as some unsettling sounds. In addition, there are hidden chambers filled with treasure or ancient family heirlooms. These hidden chambers have portraits of Addams' ancestors in stone relief. These are also homes to feral creatures the family keeps as pets, possibly unseen monsters. The dungeons aren't just for imprisonment, they're a recreational space for the Addamses, which is used by them for torture games, for fun, not punishment, scientific or magical experiments, keeping exotic or dangerous pets, and bonding activities for the kids, for example Wednesday and Pugsley. Accessories in the dungeon include iron shackles, stone walls, and moss-covered floors, racks, iron maidens, and stretching tables, sometimes in use. There's also a well-worn guillotine with an affectionate nickname. And when Gomez took his guests on a house tour, he used comedic dialogue to introduce the room. For instance, Gomez might show guests around as if it's a wine cellar. "Here's where we kept great Uncle Slicer. Wonderful fellow." Which members of the Addams family live in the mansion? In most traditional depictions of the Addams family, the mansion is home to several core family members, all sharing the same delightfully morbid and eccentric lifestyle. Except for the comic strip, where Cousin It was absent, all the family members have been shown as regular recurring residents of the mansion. To begin with, Gomez Addams, who's the passionate, energetic patriarch. He's wealthy, eccentric, and deeply in love with Morticia. He's often found fencing, blowing up model trains, or managing the family's vast and mysterious fortune. Morticia Addams, the elegant and unflappable matriarch who loves carnivorous plants, especially Cleopatra, her African strangler. She's seductive in many ways, be it in style or her speech. She speaks in a poetic tone with morbid metaphors and is the moral compass of the family in her own way. Wednesday Addams is the couple's daughter, who's known for her deadpan expression and fascination with death and torture. She's highly intelligent, darkly witty, and often experiments on her brother with love. Her room might be decorated with guillotines and spiderwebs. Pugsley Addams is the mischievous and chubby son of the couple and younger brother to Wednesday. He's often the willing and sometimes unwilling participant in Wednesday's experiments. He loves explosives, traps, and bizarre science projects. Grandmama Addams Gomez, or Morticia's mother, depending on the adaptations. She's a witch who dabbles in potions, spells, and occult rituals. She's known for cooking unappetizing meals, eyeball stew, bat wings, etc. Lurch is the family's towering butler, who speaks in groans or monosyllables. He plays the harpsichord and appears at the ring of the mansion's ominous bell, a noose in some versions. The Thing is the disembodied hand, belonging to God knows who, that scuttles around the house. He acts as a helper, messenger, and general assistant. He lives in boxes or small compartments throughout the mansion. A frequent visitor and occasional resident is Uncle Fester, who, depending on the adaptation, is either Morticia's uncle or Gomez's brother. He's bald, bizarre, and loves electricity, sometimes lights up bulbs with his mouth. He often lives with the family, though in some versions he arrives from outside. Cousin It is a short, fast-talking creature covered head to toe in long hair. He occasionally lives in the mansion or visits for extended stays. He's suave in his way and oddly popular with the ladies. Other characters, occasional visitors, or part-time residents. Pubert Addams, baby brother, introduced in Addams Family Values. What are some unique features or props in the mansion? The Addams Family Mansion is famously packed with bizarre, eerie, and darkly comedic features and props that perfectly reflect the family's macabre sensibilities. It's not just a house, it's a fully immersive Gothic funhouse of oddities, built on old-world elegance and a twisted sense of humor. Here's a rundown of the most iconic and unique features of the Addams Mansion that haven't been covered before. Tower rooms and attics. These are creaky, haunted looking towers that serve as observatories or personal hideaways. They often contain lightning rods, taxidermy experiments, or magical tools. Furniture. There's a lion-headed chair that's a Gothic armchair with lion heads on the armrests that may growl or move. It's used by Morticia or Gomez, adding a regal and threatening presence. The harpsichord is played mournfully by Lurch, usually in minor keys. It sometimes has supernatural properties, for example, opening secret passages. The fireplace doubles as an entry to a secret passage or has living flames that interact with the family. It may host snake-like fire tongues or whispering embers, mounted strange creatures. The walls are adorned with shrunken heads, stuffed mythical beasts, possibly moving, and talking animal heads that follow you with their eyes. Then there's Cleopatra, the carnivorous plant being fed meat, and the disembodied hand that roams the house like a hamster on the loose. There's also a large animated Venus flytrap-like creature that reacts to touch. An antique weapons wall that has swords, spears, and medieval torture instruments hanging proudly in the hallway. It's often used casually by family members. For example, sword fighting in the living room. Electric chair in the playroom is treated as a toy or disciplinary tool for the children. It's often seen as part of Wednesday and Pugsley's games. A guillotine that's used to slice flowers. Rose's heads, leaves discarded. Model train set with dynamite is Gomez's prized train set that he enthusiastically blows up for fun. It's not some fun prop, but it uses real explosives to blow up stuff. Did the room decor stay the same during the show? The decorations were mostly consistent in the main rooms, such as the foyer, living room, dining room, and study, which maintained their core design elements throughout the series. This was needed since these rooms stood for the show's distinctive and instantly recognizable atmosphere. The Gothic architecture, dark wood paneling, heavy curtains, dusty chandeliers, and creepy props remained standard across episodes. While the overall layout stayed the same, props and smaller decorations were frequently swapped or moved around. For instance, different taxidermy animals, unusual statues, and strange artifacts would appear depending on the episode's plot. For example, if an episode featured a seance, occult items and candles might be added to the living room for that scene. Themed props were used to match specific plot lines. For example, fencing gear for a fencing match or scientific equipment for one of Pugsley's experiments. However, as I suspected, there were budget constraints since the first adaptation was a 1960s black and white TV production. Therefore, visual continuity wasn't always perfect, but it was good for its time. The show reused rooms creatively. A single set might double as multiple different locations with minor dressing changes. What is the function of the Noose in the mansion? The Noose in the Addams Family Mansion is one of their most iconic and darkly humorous features. While a noose would be a symbol of doom in a typical household, in true Addams fashion, it's recontextualized as something practical, playful, or even ceremonial. A perfect example of how the family subverts morbid imagery for everyday use. The function of the Noose in the mansion was that of a doorbell or a summoning bell, its most common use. In the original 1960s TV series, the Noose is most famously used as a bell pull to summon Lurch, the family's towering butler. Typically, Gomez or Morticia would pull the rope, a thick noose hanging on the wall, and a distant, ominous gong would ring. Lurch would then appear with his trademark groan, "You rang?" This became one of the most memorable and parodied gags in the show, and a signature dialogue that represented Lurch. In today's context, this is meme-worthy. When I saw the usage of the Noose in the show, I imagined how the writers may have sat in a room brainstorming on all the possible morbid accessories and props that could be used in the show to bring out the real characterization of the family. It was hilarious to see the Noose, a grim symbol of dark humor, being transformed into something mundane and even polite within the Addams context. It's like a decorative piece that fits the overall Haunted Mansion theme, a leftover artifact from the mansion's dungeon or torture chamber. The Noose is a testimony to the fact that the Addamses enjoy the spooky and the taboo, and what horrifies others, they see as charming or even elegant. An iconic dialogue by Morticia on the Noose would sound like, "Nothing says welcome like a gallows loop at the front door." Did Charles Addams live in a house like the mansion? There's no documented evidence that Charles Addams, the creator of the Addams family, lived in a house like the Addams Family Mansion, at least not in the haunted, gothic, cobweb-covered sense we associate with the fictional Addams home. Charles Addams was a cartoonist known for his dark humor, but his personal life and living spaces were surprisingly normal by Addams standards, though with some quirky flair. His homes were stylish, not spooky. He lived in various places over his life, including a New York City apartment where he created many of his famous New Yorker cartoons, and a house in West Hampton Beach, Long Island, with his third wife, Marilyn T. Matthews Addams. His West Hampton home had Gothic elements in decor, but was still a beautiful, refined, and livable space, more of a tasteful tribute to the macabre than a haunted mansion. The cartoonist undeniably had a taste for the weird and quirky, and the interiors of his house had a blend of sophisticated macabre taste that had armor, antique weapons, and odd curiosities that would feel at home in the Addams Mansion. Charles was also known to be fond of Gothic and medieval aesthetics, but used them more as eccentric decorations than lifestyle choices. He was known to drive a Bugatti and was fascinated by art, architecture, and vintage cars. Inspiration for the Addams Mansion came primarily from Charles Addams's imagination and artistic style, not from any house he lived in. Early cartoons, before the characters had names or a formal backstory, showed a spooky, looming Victorian or Second Empire-style house that became the model for the mansion. In my opinion, the Addams Family Mansion was the cartoonist's dig at the American ideals of suburban normalcy by turning a haunted house into a loving family home. can you visit or stay in the real Addams Family Mansion today? As previously mentioned, the Addams Family Mansion was all shot on sets, sound stages, and in some cases through animation or visual effects. In the 1960s TV show, the exterior, as mentioned, was a facade that was used to bring out the impact of the mansion and was mostly used for transitions during the show. That original building has since been demolished, and it's no longer accessible. In the 1991 and 1993 films, the mansion was a purpose-built set for the Addams Family 1991 and Addams Family Values 1993. The mansion was a soundstage set, not a real building. The interiors and exteriors were all elaborate theatrical constructions with no real-world counterpart to visit. Some exterior shots were done in locations like Pasadena, but never of the full mansion. For festivals like Halloween, fans usually create pop-up Addams Family-themed events or haunted houses inspired by the mansion. These are temporary but fun ways to explore a reimagined version of the home. Sometimes the mansion has been recreated for promotional purposes. For instance, when the Wednesday series was released on Netflix platforms, Airbnb or Booking.com came out with offers that included a one-night stay in Addams-style mansions, often fully decorated sets, not permanent residences. These are not year-round, but they're worth watching out for. Again, if you were to visit Westfield, New Jersey, Addams' hometown, it embraces its connection to Charles Addams dearly. Here, there's a statue of Gomez and Morticia in town. There's an Addams Fest every October to celebrate his legacy, which includes themed art exhibits and mansion-inspired installations. While there's no mansion to tour, fans can explore his history and the town that helped inspire his work. Is the mansion alive or sentient in any versions? I would say yes, and that the mansion is semi-sentient. This could be attributed to the fact that the Addams family has a legacy and is a weird family that has a strong lineage of psychics and wizards. They are all about the unknown and dark mysteries of life, and therefore have a rich ancestry that believed in the ghoulish. No wonder the mansion is haunted by ghostly relatives who may reside in portraits, crypts, or spiritual form within the mansion. The mansion is like a living entity that has a creaky past and is filled with secret passages, moving walls, trapdoors, and hidden rooms. It seems to respond to the family's eccentric needs and reflects their personality. For instance, drapes that move on their own, chairs that groan or lean to one side ominously. There are sentient rugs, the bear rug, sometimes used to trap guests. The family portraits had moving eyes, sometimes ancestors watching from inside the wall. It often spied on guests or monitored kids. The crypt housed graves, urns, or remains of beloved relatives, some of whom may still visit. The hallways are filled with whispers and shadows moving independently, adding a supernatural flair. There were various bats, spiders, or creatures lurking in the walls, adding to the mansion's haunted atmosphere. In addition, there were miscellaneous odd props, such as the cuckoo clock with a grim reaper, pop-out swordfish with a human head mounted, medieval suits of armor that suddenly move, jars of eyeballs, pickled organs, or essence of bat in the kitchen, tarantula farms, and snake pits for the kids' amusement. Marvelous trivia. Back in the 1960s, American television was entering an era of high-concept shows. The Addams Family, The Munsters, Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie, Lost in Space, to name a few. These shows weren't just competing in genre, but also in style. How will they mount the show? How will it stand out? What will keep audiences hooked? I'm sure these were the kinds of questions being tossed around in every production meeting. What gave the Addams Family an edge was its legacy in Charles Addams' cartoons. The foundation was already there. All they had to do was adapt it. When NBC executive Chris Levy approached Addams for a TV version, he agreed partly because they shared a mutual friend in author John O'Hara. And that's how history was made. The characters got names, and a single-panel cartoon transformed into a full TV series that eventually became a sprawling franchise. But as one door opened, another closed. William Shawn of The New Yorker banned the Addams Family cartoon from the magazine, fearing it would damage its image. That's life. To create something big, you have to face setbacks. That's how artists keep going and keep making. Charles Addams was one of those artists. So if a door closes on you, keep walking, new ones will open. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.